Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of The Pursuit. I'm excited to have you. I'm your host, Ben Spangle. Looking forward to sharing this journey with you as hopefully we begin a long-term relationship that we're going to build in terms of sharing ideas and strategies and tactics that are going to help you move to that higher vision of yourself. And that's really what this entire podcast is about. The pursuit is if you're listening to this and you're saying, hey, I'm in the pursuit of greatness. I'm in the pursuit of a better life. Maybe I'm in the pursuit of improving your finances or your health or your body or your mindset or your relationships, whatever it might be. This is the place for you. And I think in the podcast space and this kind of world, we've kind of got some extremes. We've got your ultra successful people that you're going to get to hear from, people like your Ed Milet's and Tony Robbins and et cetera, Lewis Howes, these kind of people. And then we've got people that, maybe haven't really achieved much yet, but they're starting on the podcast. And I don't put myself yet on that standard with your Eds and your Tonys and those kind of people. But I really do feel that what makes this podcast different is this is not just some, random stuff we're going to talk about. We're not going to be talking about theory. We're going to be talking about things that I know have worked and things that I know have helped us create a pretty great life. And I hope that we're able to add as much value as possible to you so that you can really continue that pursuit in achieving a better quality of life for yourself. So that's really what the goal of this is how do we help you lead a more successful, more fulfilling, a happier, a healthier, a wealthier life. And we're going to be bringing you some pretty incredible guests from all different backgrounds that'll be able to help you do that as well. Some high performing people in many different areas. We're going to have some coaches on here. We're going to have some athletes on here. We're going to have people that have succeeded in entrepreneurial ventures in their health and their fitness. All different sorts of backgrounds, which I'm pretty excited about. We got several lined up for you already. So let's begin. Let's get started. So episode 1, what we're going to be talking about today is a very important subject in creating the life that you want and being in that pursuit of a better quality of life. And the word I'm going to begin with is the word clarity. Clarity is a word that if you study any kind of personal development, it's used all the time. Any successful person would tell you that you've got to gain some clarity, get clear on what you want, etc. And for a long time, I thought clarity was one of those things that you get it. You just you work on it for a while and then you've got it. Here's what I want. Here's what I want to accomplish. Here's who I want to become. And then I read this book, actually, High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. If you've never read it, get it on your list. It's an amazing book. And one of his first main chapters, one of the first high performing habits is high performers seek clarity. And when I read that, I understood it because that's been true in my own life is that I don't think you're ever going to get total clarity on everything because you're always seeking it. If you want to become really someone that elevates their life to all new standards, all new levels, there's no such thing as you gain clarity, you've got it. It's that you're constantly seeking it. You're working with it. It's growing, it's developing, you're building it. And that's what we're going to talk about is some exercises, things that you can use on a regular basis that will help you gain more clarity, that'll help you continually be seeking clarity on things like, what's your vision for the future? What do you really want to accomplish? Who do you really want to become? What kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of man or woman do you want to be? What kind of husband or father do you want to be? What kind of wife or mother do you want to be? Whatever it might be. These are things that we want to work with. So a couple ideas I want to share with you, some things that I think have really benefited in my own life and hopefully they will in your life too. Years ago, I remember reading Steve Siebold's book, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets. I've read it multiple times since then. Amazing book. And he was the first guy that introduced me to Bob Proctor. And if you haven't studied any Bob Proctor, I recommend you do. That guy is a master of the mind, unbelievable resource for how to really start to change the way that you think and ultimately change the results you produce in your life. And one of the concepts I learned from those two gentlemen is this idea of when we want to begin with clarity, as we start to think of a longer term picture, start to think of a bigger vision for your life. So a couple quick tips I'm going to give you in terms of how do you start to how do you start to really work with creating this idea of clarity? And what I like to begin with is this. Whether you're looking, say, 3 years out or maybe 5 years out down in the road, it could be 10. The time frame's not really what's relevant, but you start to dream a little bit with a great question. If I didn't have to worry about time and money, what would I want my life to look like? And you just start to let it flow. What you're going to find if this is a new exercise for you, or maybe you've done it once or twice, but you'll find this is often your mind is going to try and, come up with excuses. Well, that couldn't happen. I don't know if that's possible. And you start to already rationalize in your mind why you shouldn't write those down. That is not the purpose of the exercise. If you're going to gain great clarity, if you're going to seek great clarity, we want to kind of let the cap off your head and just start to dream a bit. Let the ideas start to flow. Really be thinking about things like, okay, if I didn't have to worry about time and money, where would I be living? That could be one area. Where would you be living? You could think material things. What kind of home would you have? Are you into cars or vehicles? What kind of vehicles would you love to have? Maybe you got a boat, or you got a plane that you'd like to have, lifestyle stuff. What kind of things do you want to be doing? Is it travel things you want to be doing and places that you want to be going? Is it, maybe you want to get a massage once a week or once every other week or something like that, or a certain diet that you want to be following, or maybe you have, prepared meals for you all the time, or you love cooking. And so you created this unbelievable custom kitchen, everything that you need, all that kind of stuff. And then the other things, include stuff like your family life. What do you want your family life to look like? Include things, obviously your business or, your employment. If you work at a job, what would you like your career to look like? Your finances, how much money would you like to be making? How much money would you like to have saved? What would you want your net worth to be? These are all areas. Your spiritual life, what does that look like? Maybe it's going to church for you a certain amount of times, or maybe you're kind of more on the non-secular side, and perhaps it's you're more into, like, I don't know, whatever it might be. Maybe it's meditation for you. It could be hanging out with a certain group. I mean, it could be just connecting with people. It could be connecting with nature. Whatever it is, things that are important to you, all the areas that are important in your life, these are things we want to have in a vision. These are things we want to get written down. And so the way I like to begin as I'm doing this is I like to begin first with writing just bullet form, bullet points. I'm going to jot down a whole bunch of things. So I want to have this, be able to do this kind of stuff. I like to have parts in there about who do I want to become? What kind of leader do I want to be? How do I want to be as a husband? How do I want to be as a father? That kind of stuff. Obviously your health and fitness, everything fitting into there, and really working with those ideas in the beginning of just writing down as many as you can. So bullet points, all that kind of stuff. And again, don't worry about whether it's exactly 3 years or 4 years or 5 years or 10. I mean, it really doesn't matter. What's most important is that you start to dream a bit and you start to think a little bit about, what do I want my life to look like? So you get all that down. So say you've gotten all that written down, you've got all your bullet points down here, and we've done that. Now, what I would challenge you to do, and it's been very beneficial in my own life, is you want to start to turn that into almost like a letter to a friend. So we're going to take all these points, and this is a great way to help you get clarity on your vision and to reprogram your mind with it. You take all those points and you write it out in almost the context, well, not almost, but in the context of if it's already all happened. So let's say, as an example, you were working on a 3-year vision or a 5-year vision. So at the time of this message, it's October 2020. And, maybe you're thinking, you might be thinking 3 years out. So maybe you put, whether it's October or December 31st, 2023. So I'd put that in the top right of my page, December 31st, 2023. And I always love beginning with something to the effect of, man, I'm so thankful for my life. I'm so grateful for my life. I'm so in love with my life. Things are incredible. Something like that, a really powerful statement about just how amazing life is. And then I start to describe it as if I was describing it to somebody else. And you could be writing almost a letter to yourself that way, could be to an imaginary friend, doesn't really matter. But you begin with, I'm so happy about my life. I'm so grateful for all the things that have happened. And then you start to describe it, the different areas. It's incredible, the lifestyle that we've built. We're now living here, right? Maybe you got a place in the Okanagan or California or something like that. We've got a home here. We're traveling 3 months of the year, going to places like boom, 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 boom. Our family life is incredible. I used to have stuff. We have 2 children. And I used to have stuff when we didn't, but I would have my vision letter about our family, about the kids that we didn't even have yet. I would have that written down. I'd have stuff in there about my body and my health and fitness and the kind of exercise program that I'm in and the way that I look and the way that I feel and the kind of things that I eat on a regular basis. All of that written into there. I'd have things like the home, that we wanted at the time, and what that looked like. And now, by the way, I still do this stuff. I'm thinking on another level because I'm always in the pursuit of the next level. I'm always in the pursuit of a next level of greatness, next level of success, next level of fulfillment, next level of growth. So now those are things I'm even thinking on a bigger scale. But you put all that in there. And so you'll write it out. Generally I find for myself, it's usually at least a page written, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, depends how much detail you're putting into it. And this is something that you want to work with. And so I'll do my bullet form part of me, the point form stuff really quickly. I'll write all those out, all the things I want. I'll start to kind of put them all together. This is lifestyle stuff. So that might be one paragraph. This is kind of like material stuff, the home, the cars, that kind of stuff. That might be a separate one. Family life here, business life here, financial, and so spiritual. And I'll have all these different sections in it. And then I'll write out a rough draft of this letter. And then I'll kind of read through it, tweak it, might tweak a word here and there, whatever. and then I'll write out a new one until I get myself a final copy. Usually this whole process maybe takes an hour, 2 hours, whatever it might be, but it's one of the best processes you could ever entertain, is to start to really work with this stuff and start to get a clear idea of where am I going, right? Where do I want to go? You know, in the movie Alice in Wonderland, Alice walks up and there's a fork in the road. There's two ways to go, and the Cheshire Cat's there. And Alice said, "Hey, where do the roads go?" And the Cheshire Cat says something to the extent of, "Well, where do you want to end up?" And she says, "Well, I don't really know." And then he says, "Well, it really doesn't matter then, does it?" That's so true of our life. If we don't even know, where am I going? Where do I want to be 3 years from now or 5 years from now? What do I want that to look like? If I don't even know what that stuff looks like, it really doesn't matter what you do today. Because, hey, you got no direction anyways. But when you got direction, you got clarity, and clarity brings power. And certainly you and I both want to become more powerful in our lives. I assume you do. That's probably why you're listening to this. So I get the final copy. Then we're going to take it to another level. Once you've got that, now the process that every great book on goals or vision would tell you to do is we got to start programming it into your mind. So your mind is like a giant computer. And, in computer, they've got garbage in, garbage out. Well, that's the same in our mind too. Whatever we feed our mind is what we're going to produce in the long run. We're going to produce in our external lives. So if I'm constantly feeding my mind stuff like negative news or complaining or judgment or criticism, these kind of things, I can't expect to produce a happy and fulfilling life. However, if I'm feeding my mind with the right ideas, things that I want, who I want to become, my vision for the future, a better quality of life, reading great books, listening to great podcasts, listening to great audios, then I know if I keep putting the right information in, I'm going to get the right information out. And your mind, being this supercomputer, is you can program it for the life and success that you want. You didn't get the way you are by accident. You got the way there by your own programming. And when we're young, we're gonna do another episode all on this stuff, but we were programmed by our parents and people of influence and, teachers and religious leaders, et cetera, family around us, all that kind of stuff. And you didn't have a choice back then on what your programming was, but you do now. As an adult, you do. We all have choice. And so we can either continue with the same programming, which, by the way, that's got you what you have today. So if you're happy with where you're at today, you're producing the results that you want today, you've got some good programming. However, if you're not producing the results that you want, then we need to update the programming. And this exercise that we're talking about is the starting point to really starting to shift, alter, and upgrade your programming. So you get your letter. It's a real simple strategy here, by the way. You start to read it in the morning, right? There's a copy of Think and Grow Rich right here, written, close to 100 years ago now. And, if you've read that book, you'll know where I'm going with this, but he talks about once you've got your goals and vision, to read it aloud in the morning and read it aloud at night. So you take your letter, you read it in the morning, right? And then you read it at night. The most important steps to this, though, the most important steps to take this vision is, as you read it, is to see, feel, and believe yourself already in possession. So you start to visualize it as you read it. You start to imagine yourself being in that home. You start to imagine yourself having that promotion in business, or earning that kind of income, or having that, that child that you want to have, or being in the health and fitness that you want, or being in the relationship that you want, or whatever it might be. As you're reading it, you start to flash a quick picture in your mind. And guys, you don't need to do this for hours on end. We're talking about maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes to go and do it. Read it, picture it, read a line, picture it. And the more you do that, you're starting to repetitiously put new information into your mind. You're going to get new information out. And when we do anything consistently, when we think any thought consistently, it starts to become an automatic thought. And, in personal development, sometimes they'll say it takes 21 days to build a habit. And I don't think that's actually true. I mean, London University, they did a big study, and what they realized, on average, it actually took 66 days to create a habit, to get to a place of what's called automaticity. And really simply what that is it becomes harder to not do something than it is to do it. But on average, it was 66 days. So there's no 21 days, 30 days, do it for 45 days. There's no real clear answer, because everybody's a bit different. Depends how much emotional intensity you put into this. But what I will tell you is this. If you consistently start to program your mind with the right ideas, your vision, who you want to become, the leader that you are, you want to be, all that kind of stuff, over a period of time, you are going to start to change your identity, and you're going to start to change your results. So I really feel this is one of the greatest things you could do for your life. Have a vision, get it written down, write it down as if you've already accomplished all of it, all steps of the way. It's already done. These are not things that one day I'm going to have. You're writing it down as if you've already got it. Because when our mind thinks, it only thinks in the moment. It only thinks in present. And that's like, when you wake up from a dream, it felt like it was happening. Or if you start imagining right now, if I was to say we could do a quick exercise, don't do this if you're driving, by the way. But if I was to say, hey, listen, close your eyes for a minute, walk with me for a minute. Imagine we walk up to the top of a building right now, or the very top of like a 50-story building, right? And we get to the very top of that building. And now you're standing right on the edge, and you look down. If you actually stopped and did this exercise right now, again, don't do it if you're driving, but if you did it, you would feel your heart start to beat a little bit faster, even though it didn't happen. You just imagine it. But as far as your mind's concerned, it was happening right now. If we did that same exercise and we imagine that now, instead of just looking down, you had these big kind of like angel wings, if you will, massive wings, and you could fly and you're floating through the sky. Well, you can imagine that experience too. So anytime we think of something, our mind is experiencing it right now. That's why we write our goals in the present. That's why we write them as if we've already got them. Because when we think it, when we see it in our mind, when we feel it in our mind, as far as our mind's concerned, it's happening right now. And the more you do that, the sooner you're going to create change in your life. I've watched this process in my own life happen many times. I watched it go from, really young, struggling entrepreneur, starting in business at 21, having my first few years, everything was a mess, not because of the business, or just because I was a mess, and really working with these ideas. And then I started to succeed, started to see some level of success, and built a 6-figure income in the business. And that was exciting. And then to multiple 6 figures. And then it continued to grow. And then I remember getting to a place in my life where things had really plateaued. I'd been in the same spot for about 4 years. I felt like my business was kind of stagnant. I felt like my income was stagnant. My life, it just kind of felt that way. And we were doing well. We had a decent income, decent lifestyle. But I wasn't happy because I felt like I'd really stalled out. And to me, that's not what the pursuit is about. The pursuit's about always becoming more, chasing that next version of ourselves. And then, so this would have been about 3 years ago, September 2017, actually. And I remember going through this very process that we're talking about today. I'd done it years before, and my whole life changed because of it. And for whatever reason, I stopped. And then September 2017, I remember going through this, doing this exercise, writing on a brand new vision, starting to read it every morning, every night, starting to see it in my mind and picture it and feel it just really quickly, right? Really quick feeling, allow the feeling to pop up, and doing this, morning and night over and over for probably 90 days straight almost. And the strangest stuff started to happen. The things that I was writing about started to come true faster than I ever thought possible. My income was stuck for about 4 years. It was basically at the same spot. 4 months into doing this process, my annual income grew by over $100,000, right? So I had grown my annual income by well over 100 grand just in that 4 months after starting to do this. I remember things like telling myself, I'm getting direct mentoring from Ed Milet and, Rich Solly and Monty Holmes, these are incredible leaders in my life and the business we're a part of. And Ed Milet, I remember writing this, and I'm reading this. I'm getting direct mentoring from Ed Milet. It's incredible being mentored by one of the greats. And, if you're into personal development, of course, you would know who Ed Milet is. If you don't, make sure you follow him on, social media, Instagram. He's got, I think, the best podcast in the world. And literally 4 months later to doing this, January 2018, I enter a draw on Ed's giveaway. He was just starting to do giveaways on Instagram. Click this, do that. We'll enter a draw. And 100,000 people enter the draw. And 3 people were going to be chosen for a one-on-one coaching call with Ed Milet. And I happened to be one of them. I happened to win it right out of 100,000. So I ended up having a 30-minute conversation with, Mr. Ed Milet. And it was a life-changing conversation. There was a bunch of other things that all happened in a very short window of time from doing this. So this process I'm talking about, I don't wonder if it works. I know it works. I did it early in my life, and it helped me go from kind of failure to success. And then I did it at another stage in my life where I went from succeeding but plateauing and bringing all new levels of health, all new levels of wealth, all new levels of, prosperity and success. And you can use this in any area that you want, any area. You start to reprogram your mind, you're going to start to reprogram your whole life. Things will start to change for the better for you. So we are going to do an episode a lot deeper on that stuff, on your conscious mind, your unconscious mind, and things that get in the way, obstacles, blocks, that kind of stuff. But for today's episode, I really want you focused with this idea of seeking clarity. Spend the time, take some time. So my challenge to you, before the next episode, make sure you carve out some time, whether that's at minimum an hour to yourself. Maybe do it this weekend if you can. Take today if you can. Do something. But do something where you take some time, an hour, 2 hours to yourself, maybe it takes longer, to really start to write down this idea of who do I really want to be? Who do I want to become? What kind of life do I want to lead? What do I want, my family life to look like, my business life, my health, my spiritual life, financial life, all of it, all the areas that are important to you, whatever they are to you, all those areas. What do you want those to look like? And start to work with them, start to write them out, get them down in point form, turn them into a rough draft, turn them into a master copy, start reading that morning and night. We're going to do another episode on goal setting as well, and short-term goals, that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, begin with the vision, begin with that idea of this is where I'm going. This is who I want to become. And just start to really imagine, what if I got that? Start to think about it as if you're already there. I'm telling you, you are going to start to see wonderful things happen in your life. The strangest things start to occur, things you can't even explain. It's amazing, amazing. Starting to get things that, things in your life that you can't really explain. How did this happen? It's amazing how I met this person, then this lady showed up, and then this happened. And there's things behind the scenes going on from God, the universe, whatever you believe. But I really feel that there's things beyond our control that we're not influencing, that they're starting to show up in our life. And the same will be true for you. So, hey, so glad you're here with us. If you like this episode, do me a favor. Please, give it a quick review on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, whatever it is. Just a quick review, rate it, that kind of stuff. Share it with your friends for me. Share it with your family, please. We want to get this information out to as many people as possible. Follow me on Instagram at Ben Spangl, BenSpangl. Looking forward to connecting with you. Fire me off a message. Would love to connect with you. And thank you so much for sharing this time with us. Excited to be with you, sharing another episode in just a few short weeks here. Until then, have an amazing day. Have an amazing week. Let's continue the pursuit. Let's go do something big. Let's go do something great with our lives. Take care, everybody. See you soon.